hello. And also, this is what I'm dealing with already. See, look, he goes immediately under the desk, immediately. And he's like, okay, now I'm gonna be a terrorist. I'm gonna destroy everything down here. I'm just gonna ruin everything until you give me a treat. It's gonna be so much. So let me, look. Oh my God. Do you see this? He's like, what if I lay down? Maybe that'll fix it. Maybe then I'll get a treat. That must be the trick. I gotta lay down. Okay, I'm gonna give the dog a treat because this is the law. I can hydrate too, but I'm also gonna give the dog a treat. As is the law apparently now. So let's reset that a little bit. Okay, and treat time. You gotta show the people what they want. Gotta give them that shit. Father, help! You gotta. There it is. What a buddy. It's good, dogs. How's it going, everybody? My name is Endeavorance. It is Thursday. What's the month? March. '20th? Fuck yeah. And also a year. How's it going, everybody? It's been an interesting few days for your boy. It's been a lot, but it's been good. And I've been like doing a ton of work, and I've got some stuff that I'm excited to share today. There's been a lot of shit going on that I'll probably talk about today. There's the dog that I'll put on the screen right now. Where is he at? Seeking. No, he's obscured. Hold on. Oh yeah, licking the foot. Gotta always be licking. ABL, as they say. My grandpappy always told me, son, always be licking. I had a weird relationship with my grandfather. Anyway, oh look, oh my goodness. What a buddy. Let's see, who is here? Let's say hello to people. Shay, hello. Prefix, hello. Pyro, hello. Neurospicy Dumpster Fire, Starry Night Studio, Less Than Panda, Crazed Sanity, Triple Win 501, Tree Fox, Ronin Queen, Ada Scout, Informal Goblin, Crooksix Wolf, Weedy Potter, Overreacting, Ollie, Kev, I Made Soup, Burns and Corp, Typical Brunette. Hello, everyone. And now this is happening. Let me get a bit of a larger frame here to properly capture this moment. There we go. If you could hear the sounds, if you could hear the soundscape in the studio right now, there's a lot happening. There's growling, there's snarling, there's kicky feet. Oh, this is how he chases his tail. This is just like how he chases his tail. He doesn't do it standing up. He's never chased his tail standing up. He just flails around on the ground trying to get the tail. And sometimes he does it, and sometimes he doesn't. But always, it's party time. Y'all, I regret to inform you. I know that you thought you could trust me. I know that you thought that you knew what I was all about. I know that you all thought that you had a grasp of my leanings, of my outlooks, of my worldview. I regret to inform you. I'm a centrist now because the internet told me. So I'm a centrist. I'm a centrist now because I've been told that in my comments on various videos, which is not even just videos, posts online in general. And that is mind-boggling. It is truly mind-boggling I made the absolutely unhinged assertion that having understanding of the government does not mean that you enforce or that you endorse the government. And apparently that was just too extreme for certain people, and so they reverse labeled me a centrist because I said that understanding civics is a valuable asset in reality. So like I want to, hello Shadow Keyblade, what's up? I want to make something really, really clear. And I don't think that anybody here needs to hear this necessarily, but I'm gonna say it anyway so that I have the clip if need be. Acknowledging reality is not a forfeiture of dreams, right? Acknowledging the situation that we are in and acknowledging your limitations and acknowledging your place in this world does not mean that you don't care anymore. And it does not mean that you're giving up. I think there's a lot of people who have a mindset of immediacy right now, and it's 100% earned. There is absolutely every reason to feel a sense of immediacy and urgency right now, because there's a lot of people getting hurt, and because we have spent basically the last 50 or 60 now years watching as a right-wing organized arm has been undermining everything that people care about to install a dictatorship. And it's come to fruition now. So it's like we don't really have the time to organize. And when it comes to stuff like climate change, like we don't have the time to be fucking around because things are not moving at the pace of politics. They're moving at the pace of the planet scorching us out. And so I get it. There's a lot of people who feel a sense of urgency, and I do not disagree with that sense of urgency. I also think that people have a fucked up sense of what is possible urgently and what is reasonable to do urgently. And so there's a lot of people who are disillusioned and angry and feel left behind and feel like there needs to be radical change because there's not been radical change for a long time. And I agree that we don't need incremental change within the government that we have. Like, that is not how we solve problems. We don't solve it with incremental change. That said, what people are asking for in this world right now is essentially revolution and an anthropological phase shift. They want humanity to enter its next phase, which does not happen in a lifetime. It doesn't happen in 2 lifetimes. And so unfortunately, we are in a situation where there is a very real reason to feel a sense of urgency combined with a very strong sense, especially in the United States, that everyone must be the hero, that like everyone's got main character syndrome, so that sense of urgency combined with this is all it's my responsibility to be a hero and sacrifice myself and save the world or whatever. And that causes people to think that like violent revolution is possible in the United States. And I'm not saying it's necessarily completely impossible, but I strongly disagree that it's the way that we go about enacting change that lasts while minimizing the suffering that already exists. And I disagree with the notion that there seems to be a lot of people on the left right now who are so upset and feel the feeling of powerlessness. They're so upset, they feel so powerless. And again, understand, and I feel the same way.
Thank you for that.
But the wrong thing to do is to say, well, I feel terrible and powerless, so I'm going to advocate for Flynn, must you get way up in there? We're just going to go ahead and take that off for now. The wrong thing to do as a leftist is to say, I feel so angry and powerless that the thing I'm going to advocate for is essentially an extinction level event for anyone who's not an able-bodied white guy. Because that's what's going to happen in a revolution, is anyone who is not able to pass as an ally of the state or whatever risks the absolute most. So like there's a lot of people saying a lot of things that are very dangerous if they actually get taken to heart, and the people who are in danger are the ones that are most vulnerable and should be the people that we are advocating for helping right now. And I don't want to further hurt them. There are trans people who cannot leave the country right now because their passports are being revoked. They are not able to get their gender on their passports, and therefore their passports are just being not delivered, not given, revoked, undone. And then there could be stuff with like, if you are presenting femme and you've got an M on your passport, they might give you shit so you can't leave. We have literal people who are stuck here, and turning up the heat on the pot for them is not a vibe. And I'm not saying this to say nothing will ever work. I'm not saying this to say that like revolution can't work. I'm saying the revolution that I think people are imagining, having their brains fucking poisoned by decades of Marvel movies, is not the revolution that we actually need and can most likely enact. In my opinion, the type of revolution that we get, the way that we actually cause change, and this is not a hot take. Sorry, this is happening now. Okay, so this is happening now. This is important. I had to stop my rant for this. The way we actually go about enacting change, and this is not a hot take, this is the same thing that everyone else has been saying already, is organize. Now I'm going to be more specific though, because everyone's screaming organize, but no one's saying what the fuck that means. It could be as simple as getting a group of people together that can check on each other and have each other's backs. That's one way of doing it. But more specifically, at the grand scale, people are constantly talking about we need a general strike, we need a general strike. Well, we do a general strike by first organizing and strengthening unions. We need strong labor unions. And the state is not going to help us with that, especially the current administration. They're actively pushing back on unionization efforts. So organizing to the point that unions can form and strengthen regardless of support from the federal government is what needs to be happening right now. And I'm talking the big ones. I'm talking massive trade unions. Because when you have enough strong trade unions, they can then work together to facilitate a general strike. A general strike doesn't necessarily mean that every single person in the United States stops working. It means that enough of them stop working that it is so detrimental to the economy that the government has to capitulate to their demands, lest they risk losing the entire fucking country. And that can happen over the course of like a couple of days. If dock workers just straight up stopped working for a few days, holy shit, that would be bad for the people who have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo. So that is economic violence, right? That is using the power of collective bargaining to force the hand of the state by way of economics, in the same way that the state forces the hand of the populace by way of violence with laws, right? Like laws are ultimately a thing that says if you don't do this, we will ultimately back this up with killing you and or rendering your life inert in some other way by way of like fining you into the ground or putting you in jail, unless you're a rich white guy. So I guess the point I'm trying to make here is, hey, yo, what? Wait. Look who just subscribed. When I say yelling burn it all down is not a helpful contribution, I'm not saying that I'm endorsing the status quo. I'm not saying that there is no room for large scale change. I'm saying that is an unhelpful addition to an argument that's been going on for decades. And burn it all down just tells me you have no actual plan and don't care who gets hurt along the way to your preferred reality, which is gross. That's basically it. Hi, everybody. What a start. What a kickoff to the stream. Let me check up on chat. Let's see. Thank you for the hype train that happened during that. I was not looking at anything, so thank you for the gifted subs. Let's check up on who did what. Ninjazaku, thank you for the follow. Thomas Stevens continued their sub. Thank you so much. Okayish resubbed and gifted a sub, and Milo gifted a sub, and Ayu Yandu also subscribed, and Foggy Bog. Thank you. I need to figure out why the continuation notifications aren't showing up. That's different. Stream starting off hot. Yeah. Okay, says, I love when people online are like, he can't do that. That's not legal, when that never stopped Hitler. Yeah, so that's another thing, is I've had a lot of people say like, oh, you're lying. The government can't do that. That's illegal. Since when has that been a thing? The people who are like super don't tread on me, small government, the government shouldn't have all these powers, the government's the big boogeyman, very suddenly think that the government has a code of ethics and is like good, and if you challenge them at all, then you're bad. Like, that's, I know that I'm like, that doesn't help. What I just said doesn't actually help, because these people, I'm not trying to call out their hypocrisy. I was actually thinking about this morning. This is not hypocrisy for them. It's just them. The people who on one hand are like, oh, we need to make this country great, blah, 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 blah. And then they talk about how much they love the Constitution, how much they love this country, and so on and so forth, are the same people who will strongly argue if you suggest that we live in a democracy. They'll hit you with that, we don't live in a democracy, we live in a constitutional republic. Because they don't actually want a democracy, and they never have. And they show that when they are endorsing the removal of green card holders without due process. Anyone who says that it's ever okay to just not have due process does not want a democracy. They actively are advocating for a dictatorship. And that's not them being hypocritical. That is their values. They just either don't feel comfortable actually expressing that, or don't even realize it themselves. But what they're asking for is a state in which the government can pick and choose who should be here by way of who has adherence to a specific mindset. And that is explicitly what they want. Typically, these are evangelical Christians or ex-evangelical Christians who then convert to like the left and don't shed their otherism. And so like they still have the fire and brimstone and punishment and anger towards any out group, but now they're not in the in group, so they point all that to their former in group. And you have the same thing but happening on the left, saying that we should like jettison or kill or chemically castrate or whatever anyone who has a religious belief. Like, that's not okay either. And that doesn't make you a centrist. It just makes you actually stick to your morals. And so let me leave you with this before I move on from this topic. Drive by morals, not by policy. Drive by your morals. Live by your morals. Do not tie yourself to a political party. Do not tie yourself to a political ideology, and do not tie yourself to specific policy, because things are going to change minute to minute, and you're always going to need to be able to adapt. But what doesn't need to adapt are your morals, if they are strong. And if you truly believe in them and truly align with them. Now, you should reevaluate and check your morals and make sure that they're positioned well. But let that be the driving force for your decision making, even if that decision making doesn't seem to make sense externally. And so I understand when people hear some of the words that I say, and I've seen an increased amount of people referring to me as a liberal influencer, which is mortifying. But I get it. because I'm not constantly just like yelling, burn it down, and making Molotov cocktails and throwing it at everybody, right? Like, I'm trying to be practical and minimize the amount of damage that I'm dealing along the way of trying to make progress towards a world that I would like to see generally exist. But I also am aware that I can't just snap my fingers and make that happen, and it's not going to happen in my lifetime. And it would be very conceited of me to think that it would happen in my lifetime. There were hundreds of tens of thousands of generations of humans before us, and mostly nothing happened. Like, mostly nothing happened in their lives. Like, do you think that they were sitting around being like, I need to change everything in my life? Like, no, we are a speck of dust. There's only so much power we have, and coming to terms with that can make you more effective with the power that you do have. Okay. Anyway. My morels? Not a huge mushroom fan, says Foggy. Look, you should be, though. You absolutely should be. Okay, it says at least I'm a speck of hot dust. At least, well, here's the thing, is that Flynn, though, of all the specks of dust, Flynn is the most biggest and significant speck of dust. They sat around without electricity eating bread, cheese, and nuts. Yeah, I think about this all the time. We are constantly entertained and being fed information and seeing everything that's happening around the world everywhere. We are the first generation of humans to have that. Even the ones before us that had like news, radio, TV, all that stuff, that still happened at such a slower pace than we have now. If you go back just like 2 or 3 generations, the only people who knew what the fuck was going on, not 2 or 3, maybe like 4 or 5 generations now. The only people who knew what the fuck was going on outside of their immediate local vicinity were the actual governments already, who were keeping tabs on foreign adversaries and shit. And now we're just aware of everything happening all the time ever. But like, not so long ago, it'd be like, well, I guess I'll play with my hoop and stick again? And make some preserves? And read a book. God, that sounds fucking nice. I want to play with a hoop and stick and make preserves and read a book. Sounds real nice. Bug says, I also want to sit around without electricity and eat bread, cheese, and nuts. Look, there's nothing wrong with bread, cheese, and nuts. You forgot making break? Wait, what's making break? Ada Scout says, reading a C. Ansi book right now. I'm pretty sure that's very similar to what they were reading back in like the 1500s. I swear I heard you say play with poop and stick. Maybe I did. Maybe I did. Languel says, I'm just going to sit and watch doggos play for the next 3 hours. It's on my calendar. It's important to have a well-groomed calendar, including specifically blocking off time to watch dogs play. Informal Goblin says, Ace people have a nut allergy. Not the Ace people I know. What's up with Ace people being the horniest motherfuckers on the planet? What's up with Ace people having like the wildest understanding of innuendo? Is it just because you've had to adapt and so you've like learned to conquer the thirst? Is that what's going on? Because like I've talked to Ace people who will just out of nowhere hit me with like the most sultry ass statement imaginable. And I'm like, what in the fuck? What? Ace people have ascended. They have Ace ascended. Me and Pyro are just built different. I don't understand it. I don't get it. It ain't me. Like I will say, I remember when I was a piece of shit teenager, and it was like, first it was like I just was arbitrarily anti-queer because I was a young white suburban teenager and listened to dumb people. And then eventually it turned into the classic, like, well, I don't understand them, but I have no problem with them. And then it turned into like, it's not hard to understand loving someone. Like, obvious, it just, obviously that's not a difficult concept. Stop being obtuse. But when it comes to asexuality, although I fully support and agree that it's a thing and is real, and I know plenty of ace people and 100% valid, it is a thing that I, as very much not an ace person, have such a hard time wrapping my mind around. It's like, for me, it's like trying to imagine what a blind person sees. Like a person who has been blind from birth, trying to imagine what they experience as a sighted person. And like I can't, I lack the facilities to like feel that way. So like I can understand from a definition standpoint. I can understand from I understand and support, and it's valid. But it's a very difficult thing for me to be like, let me get in the mindset. Like let me try to like feel that. Very difficult. Very, very difficult for me. If you can't imagine it, then you don't experience it. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like try to explain the color red to a blind person. What the fuck is red? God, I've always loved the Toph jokes in the Avatar series. Just like the constant like, hey, idiot, I'm blind. Because I'm still blind. It's very good. But yeah, I have a hard time conceptualizing that. I also have a hard time, and like I really hope that, you know, I don't have to experience this someday, but like amputations, right? Like not having a limb. Imagining not having a limb is difficult. And it's a lot like that. But yeah, I don't know why I was ever of the mind. I feel like the I don't understand them, but I don't have a problem with them. That's like the squirmiest. Like I simply don't want to accept that I may have more progressive ideology than I thought. Like that's all that person is saying. That's the person's just, it's like the same as saying like, oh, I'm apolitical, or I'm a centrist, or I don't do politics. It's like you're telling a lot without actually saying anything. Only in that case, it's the other way. It's more towards the right. Quentin says, as someone on the ace spectrum, personally, it's very much like sex is okay on my terms, but I experience the I want to have sex, but I experience the I want to have sex with them type sexual attraction. Is there a different type of sexual attraction than wanting to have sex? Isn't that what sexual attraction is? Is that not? Don't. Got it. I don't experience the I want to have sex with them type sexual attraction. Got it. Okay. I was so confused for a second there, but we made it back around. Dog's distracted halfway through typing. Ada Scout says, I can imagine not having a finger. My right pointer finger has nerve damage and I can't feel texture with it. That's wild. So like you can like feel pressure but not texture? That's interesting. Typical Brunette says, just put my headphones back on in time for, is there a different type of sexual attraction than wanting to have sex? Yeah, the sexual attraction where you just like want to play Mario Kart with someone. It's like, damn, check out that ass. I bet they run a mean race. I bet they've got a great time on fucking Mushroom Cup. Royal Raceway. That's a track. I was that entire time I was trying to think of the name of a Mario Kart track. There are like 1,000 of them and I could not think of one. Overreacting says, gotta bounce and turn on some synthwave and dig into a project. My boss just messaged me yesterday saying, hey, I think we're going to roll out a project next week. Perfect. Oh God. What are your thoughts on rolling it out today? Oh my God. I so do not miss my manager reaching out to me being like, hey, I know we had this one timeline, but can we just blow that the fuck up and completely ignore it? Oh, I missed a couple of follows. Undead Lucille and Sturgev. Thank you both for the follows. Welcome in. Bug says, I've played Mario Kart a grand total of 4 times. You could say any potential track name, and I'd believe you without question. Poopy Doopy Circuit. That's a track. The sexual attraction of wanting to play Mario Kart could be a good explanation. Maybe all ace people just want to play Mario Kart. Have we ever considered this? Like, have we considered that maybe ace people just want to play some Mario Kart? And like, I'd be down. But at the same time, does that mean that Mario Kart is a far more intimate act than I thought it was? Have I been like getting all nasty with people just playing some Mario Kart? Oh shit. Is that cheating? Anyway, so I watched Birdman yesterday. For the first time. If you have not seen Birdman, you should go watch Birdman. It's a very good movie. Holy shit. I remember when it came out, it's like an old movie. Not old, it's 11 years old now, which is crazy. But I remember when it came out, what was the name of the movie? Birdman. Just Birdman with Michael Keaton. It's Michael Keaton and Edward Norton and Zach Galifianakis are like the main 3, and it's really cool. It's Zach Galifianakis playing a character that's not Zach Galifianakis. Like he's playing a more straight man character, and he does a great job. But it's a really, really good movie about a dude who is a like washed up superhero movie actor trying to wrangle some sense of respect back to himself by debuting a Broadway performance later in his life, and the struggle that he has with like making that work and being accepted and like trying to essentially prove to himself that he's still relevant, but he's also like fucking losing it the whole time, and also brings on Edward Norton as a actor in his play, and Edward Norton is just fucking unhinged. Like, absolutely batshit crazy. And it's great. I don't know if I can share the picture that I want to share. Am I allowed? What are Twitch's rules regarding a dude only wearing a like banana hammock? Am I allowed to show that? Here, I'll censor it. Copy image. We'll censor it, but I just want to show you this one still from this movie, and that will hopefully convince you it's the right movie to watch. So there, I've censored it. So this is a still from the movie. Michael Keaton and Edward Norton fisticuffing, and Edward Norton is only wearing a banana hammock. He's just got like a thong on, and they're gonna do some fisticuffs. This movie rules. It's really good. It's really good. I will say trigger warnings for it include sexual assault and suicidal ideation. But it's a very, very good film. I don't want to spoil it because it's kind of hard to spoil, but it's got a cool thing going on where whenever the main character, who again, he's a former like superhero actor, whenever he's alone and like alone with his thoughts, he essentially hears the superhero version of himself like tearing him down and being like, you were never supposed to do this. Go back to being what you used to be. Like, go back to being a like corporate media piece of shit. But also during these moments, he essentially fantasizes about himself actually having those powers. So whenever he's alone, like whenever there's no other characters in a scene, he can like do telekinesis and like fly and shit. But that only happens when he's by himself. And so it's like ambiguous if he's hiding it from people or if it's just his imagination. They don't tell you. But like that's a thing this movie does. And the other crazy thing about this movie, and pay attention to this if you do go out and watch it. Again, this movie is called Birdman. A thing this movie does a lot is long form shots, to the point that the entire movie is meant to appear completely seamless, like a single scene from start to finish. And there are some scenes that are legitimately some of the most impressive work I have seen on film, period. It's like there has not been a cut in like 15, 20 minutes. And every character has been in and out, and there's been like 7 different locations that we've gone through, and there have been like bit parts and like cues of like things like falling over or whatever. And it's like it's amazing. I can't even imagine what it took to get some of those shots. But when they do cut, they make it as seamless as possible, so you can't, half the time you have no idea when they did cut. It'll be like the camera like pans towards something and then pans again, and it's like, okay, I think that was a cut. Like I'm pretty sure that was a cut. Or a person like goes through a hallway and it gets dark because there's not enough light or something, and then it lightens up again. It's like, that was probably a cut. But it's very, very interesting to try to find. So it's if you've seen Uncut Gems, it's not as stressful as Uncut Gems, but it has a very similar vibe of just constant movement and like everything is constantly falling apart, while also being a bit more cerebral. So every cut is a lie. Uncut Gems. Yo, Uncut Gems was fucking amazing though. I don't think I will ever watch that movie again, but it was the one time that I did watch it, and I had heard it described as a panic attack as a movie, and that was accurate. Man, this dog is really working overtime to make it cozy. There it is. Uncut Gems is a great movie, but I fucking hated it. That's a good way of putting it, Kev. That's a really good way of putting it. Uncut Gems was an amazing movie. I never want to watch it again. It is so panic attacky. Yeah, if you're trying to watch movies to vibe and chill and not, oh wow, we're really doing it. We're really doing it. Are you making it comfy there, bud? Is it working? Get cozy? Coco Village. Coco Village. And he's still going. But oh, there he goes. Yeah, it's Uncut Gems is a very, very stressful movie. It is essentially Adam Sandler can't stop gambling with his life on the line because he thinks he can't lose, and he keeps barely getting away with it, the movie, until you never know when he's gonna stop, like when his luck will run out. You straight up just, the entire time, you're like, this guy is going to fucking get himself killed. What is happening? Birdman's not necessarily that. Birdman is more like a slow train wreck, and Edward Norton being unhinged. But it's got a stacked ass cast. It's Michael Keaton, Edward Norton, I already said Zach Galifianakis. Who's the girl? God damn it. I always blank on her name. I don't want to say the wrong one. Birdman, IMDb. Emma Stone. Yeah, this is not the same person at all, but I always want to say Olivia Wilde when I think Emma Stone. That's nothing. Like that's not the same person. But yeah, like this is the first shot of the movie. He's just floating in a nasty ass room in his underwear because he's by himself, so he's like able to use his power. But yeah, like this cast is wild. Very, very good. Let me look at Olivia Wilde. Let me Olivia Wilde. Is it oh, with an E? Yeah, not the same person. Not completely not the same. Let's This is important. This is a good use of our time. Okay, I take it back. I think it's perfectly okay to mix up Emma Stone and Olivia Wilde. I take it back. I think it's an acceptable stinank. Now, should you do it intentionally? Maybe, but accidentally, it's fine. It's fine. I won't say my far less culturally acceptable these are the same person takes, because I've said them before and I've gotten a lot of shit for it. So I'm just gonna stop there. They came into the public eye around the same time? I don't even know. I don't even know what time it is anymore. That's a wild take. What's a wild take? That they're the same person? I don't know anything about Olivia Wilde. I also don't know anything about Emma Stone, so. I only think of Olivia Wilde as 13, so she's one of the few actresses I don't confuse. I just don't know people. I know, like, I like glob on to a handful of actors that are currently sort of like on my I need my fix list. And like Edward Norton is up there right now. Like I'm kind of like surging on Edward Norton right now. For a while it was Jeffrey Rush. Just like everything with Jeffrey Rush. Like I watched The King's Speech and I was like, this man is just too good at acting. Like this guy is too good at this. Give me more. But also somebody stop him. He cannot be contained. And then also, of course, you know, he's in Pirates, but more importantly, The King's Speech, I think, is my favorite movie of all time. Like, hot damn, what a good movie. Rahul Kohli all day? I do not know who that is. Let's learn. Rahul Kohli. Do I know this person? Do I? Nope. I do not know this person. I do not know this person. I will say, here, let me talk about the other movie that y'all should watch. Because I recently rewatched this movie and my God, it's so good. Monkey Man. Let's talk about this. I don't know if I talked about this last time, but I'm talking about it now. And holy shit, this movie is so fucking good. This came out last year. It is, it's starred and directed by Dev Patel. And this movie is trans rights and trans rights are human rights and fascist lives don't matter, the movie. It is a love letter to the John Wick franchise. So if you, it's a very violent, like super murdery action movie following Dev Patel seeking revenge against a surging fascist regime in India with a bunch of trans people coming to his aid because they are also marginalized. And it's so good. It's so good. Like the first half of the movie, you're gonna be like, what does this have to do with trans rights? And the second half of the movie, you're just gonna be like, holy fuck. This is the transist movie I've ever seen. Like literally halfway through the movie, it's so good. And so it's like there's a whole essentially the entire like second half and like third act of the movie. If you ever watched the John Wick franchise, John Wick movies are, you know, act 1, 2, and 3 are wildly violent action sequences. Monkey Man is a much less directly like violent action movie until act 3, and then it just becomes a John Wick movie. So much so that earlier on in the movie, they make a direct John Wick reference. Like he's going to buy a gun and this dude's like, have you seen John Wick? I just got this in directly. It's like the same model from the movie because it's supposed to be John Wicky. And if you've ever seen the John Wick franchise, the third act of this movie just watches like a John Wick movie. But yeah, like it's so good. It's so good, man. Like it's Dev Patel and Jordan Peele directed it or wrote it, I think. But and the other thing is that it's cool because it's like it's a very different setting than usual. It's not cool white guy in New York City or cool white guy in LA. It's Indian dude in, I think they don't really say what city. I assume where is it? Actually, yeah. Monkey Man. Do they actually say where it's set? Social club. Do they don't, I guess they don't actually. Oh, wait. Yatana? Is that where it? I don't know, but it's somewhere in India, and it is a mostly Indian cast, and it's also like they do a lot of the like code switching between English and Hindi. So there's a lot of just like representation of Indian culture that is not usually finding its way onto the main screen in Hollywood. And so that's really cool to see. Yeah. It's funny, it's cute, it's endearing, and also the way that I saw it described, I was like looking up movie reviews for it or whatever. No, I wasn't looking up movie reviews. I was going to go rent it, and the rental page had like a movie review blurb on it, and like the short summary of the movie review was very violent, but satisfying. A fictionalized version of Mumbai. Okay. Cool. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it's literally like, I remember watching it and being like, this is Mumbai, right? Like, it just looks like Mumbai. But yeah, definitely, it's a great movie. So Monkey Man and Bird Man. Which, pick your poison. Which animal do you want to watch? Both are great movies. Very, very different movies. One is a, like, cerebral, dive into the mind of an aging celebrity clinging to reality, and the other is Dev Patel and a bunch of trans people kill Nazis. The movie. Praise. So, any trigger warnings for Monkey Man? Hella blood. Like hella blood. Lots of blood. Like blood, and violence and blood. And ow, and oof, and and that guy just got hit with that thing, and ooh, that doesn't normally come off of a person. So a lot of that. Human trafficking, SA to a degree, like SA insofar as like human trafficking. Hello. But yeah, like there's no explicit sexual assault on screen. There is no explicit essay on screen. It's just that there's a subplot of like one of the main sort of like locations that is like in the movie is a club that has a bunch of obviously trafficked prostitutes that are being used by high society people. And they're obviously, you know, not happy with their situation. Like that's the level that I'm talking about, but they don't actually show you. There's not actually like, there's none of those like violent scenes. Like, now let's watch as a rape occurs. Like, no, there's nothing like that. But yeah, so good. Holy damn. It's also a gorgeous film. It's really, really pretty. Especially the final act again. And especially when they go full trans. You'll know what I'm talking about if you watch the movie. There's a moment where it's like, all right. And it's really cool. DoesTheDogDie.com. Yeah, that's the unfortunate part about the John Wick franchise, is that the dog does die. That said, I'm pretty sure the dog only dies the one time in the first movie. I don't think the dog dies in other movies. I think the dog is threatened in other movies. But the first movie, the dog straight up dies, and thankfully, the entirety of the John Wick franchise is essentially Keanu Reeves says, "You killed my dog, now I'm going to kill everyone." And so it's like, you know, it's not a fair trade. His dog still dies, but he does kill everyone. Like his dog dies, and then everyone else dies because of him. The reason I've never seen John Wick, there's I think the Does the Dog Die website. Like there is a You can look up the scene, like when that occurs in the first movie, and just like skip past like 20 seconds and just know that the dog, they took the dog. The dog was stolen. It didn't die. The dog was stolen. The dog is avenged a million times over. The dog is avenged. That dog's death results in a global network of assassins being taken down from within. Like, it's an ancient global network of assassins operating like in the shadows with infrastructure in every major city on Earth gets undone by a single guy because his dog died. So, yeah. John Wick is like if the movie Taken was good. Perfectly reasonable reaction. To be fair, it's mostly just out of necessity and self-defense. Yeah, they do attack him a lot. They really don't like Keanu Reeves in that universe. I'm not allowed to watch any movie where the dog dies, or generally most animals. Not allowed, or don't want to. He is the baby yogurt after all. The best gag in the John Wick franchise, I think, is there's a running gag that like John Wick is like among the other people, like among the people talking about John Wick, the main character doing all the killing. There's a running thing where all of them freak out because there's a story that he once killed somebody with a pencil. And so like they frequently reference like a goddamn pencil. Like he killed someone with a goddamn pencil, and like pencil becomes a like meme throughout the franchise. And then he eventually does kill somebody on screen using nothing but a pencil. And it's just like such a good payoff. Fanakri says, I discovered the too much cheese point in my soup. Wait, what? How? What? Are you just eating a block of cheese then? At which point it's just cheese and therefore not too much cheese? How? Man, I had some really fucking good broccoli cheddar soup recently. Whew. The Joker did it first. I don't think that's true. Is it? I mean, they do say the pen is mightier than the sword. So is the pencil mightier than the pen? What? Typical Brunette has got to go. Have a good rest of the stream. You as well. Take care. Take care. Hey, let's talk about a thing real quick that I want to get out of the way because it's a thing that's happening. Let me see if it actually happened or if it's still just happening. Pulling up the news. Okay, well, it seems to be in the process of happening, sort of. So this is a headline. Trump will order a plan to shut down the U.S. Education Department. So I am the new Department of Education. Let's be clear on that one. Hello, it's me, your teacher. I need elbow pads. I need a jacket with elbow pads so I can be a professor. But I'm your professor, Professor Endeavorance. Please refer to me as such. I want to be clear. This is not happening just yet. This is bad, right? Like this shouldn't happen. Not like this, but this is basically just Trump is going to sign a executive order saying make a plan to shut down the Department of Education. And Congress technically needs to have a hand in that, but we also know that like nothing fucking matters anymore. So this very well may happen, it may not, but there's so much misinformation and like misconstruing what the Department of Education does. It's so boring. Like that's the problem with all of this. It's so boring. Just like USAID, it's very boring in actuality. The Department of Education does not set coursework. It doesn't. It does not set a syllabus. It does not tell schools what to teach. It does not hold funding unless you teach certain things. It doesn't do any of that. It allocates federal funding to schools to help impoverished areas have better schools. and it does research on teaching methodology and basically tries to be a what's the name of the thing on the front of a train? What's the thing on the front of a train? A rock breaker? Rock mover? A cattle guard, a cow plow. It's the thing that's supposed to like move stuff off of the tracks when they hit it instead of clobbering it. That's more or less what the Department of Education does for researching education stuff. They like do studies and they like keep a tap on national test scores and whatnot and try to figure out like how to optimize. Now, is the education system in the United States in a good way? No. Very much no. It is not in a good way. It's very much in a bad way right now. Is shutting down the Department of Education going to do anything to fix that? Also no. It's going to make everything significantly worse. Schools that are already underfunded will have far less funding. There's going to be a much starker contrast between the quality of education that people get per zip code. And also, one of the things the Department of Education does is enforce non-discrimination. So instead, what the conservatives have been working towards for, like, again, 50, 60 years now is a school choice / school voucher program where they give you like a tax credit, more or less, to go to a private school, which usually means a religious school. So the religious institutions then get to find more ways to siphon funds off of the federal government, and so taxpayer money ultimately goes into the hands of private school owners, as opposed to public schools that fund education initiatives and are open to everyone. I still don't think that our education system is like equipped for the current reality that we're in. I don't think that our education system has adapted to the way the world works now. But I don't see what the fuck. I don't understand why they're all so about shutting down the Department of Education. And I know, again, the answer is literally just they don't want anything in the federal government that can help people who are not a part of the in-group. And the Department of Education explicitly uplifts people who are marginalized. Like, it helps them get a better education. So like that is primarily why they want to get rid of it. It's not an expensive sector. Like, any reasonable person who was truly trying to reduce deficit or reduce spending, Department of Education wouldn't be anywhere near the top like 40 things on their list of departments to look into. But that's not what they're doing, and we shouldn't be surprised by that. They're not looking to actually cut spending. They're looking to find ways to pillage the budget. They're trying to send more money to private equity. They're trying to get rid of any kind of thing that might actually help the poor have power so that they can centralize it in the hands of even fewer people. That is explicitly their goal, and that is explicitly what their supporters want. That's not a I'm not trying to sound alarmist or extremist. I'm just trying to sound accurate. And I don't think that we've seen any indication that we should believe otherwise. Like, until supporters of this administration actually start to accept that things are not what they have been saying they are, and that that's a problem, until then, they are just lying through their teeth about what they want. Because what is happening right now is not what is being stated that they want, and yet they still support it, which just leads me to believe through their actions instead of their words that this is explicitly the thing that they want, regardless of if they're willing to admit it or not. Again, like, they want a dictatorship. They want an authoritarian regime that can install a pecking order, that can install an in-group and an out-group, and essentially establish a white Christian ethno-state. Like, that is their goal. And that's not, they don't hide that, especially now. And so, yeah, there's a lot of people who explicitly want that, and they think that that would be a road to a happier life for them.
Hey, yo.
So, hello, overreacting. Welcome back. Did you finish your project? All these people who think that they're safe because they're supporting the status quo. Yeah, there's a lot of people who think that if they simply sit back and don't rock the boat, then they're going to be fine. And that's just not how it works. I'm waiting for all of the conservatives to start complaining that there's nowhere to get good tacos anymore. Like, what do you want? Like, if you want to get rid of all minorities, you're going to be getting rid of basically everyone who contributes to the culture in America. And you're going to be so fucking bored and sad because you're going to realize that the issue was you, not them. Our Constitution has a dedicated taco truck. We love the taco truck. The House, the Senate, and the taco truck. Like that dude whose wife was deported even though they both voted Trump because he thought that they'd be safe by association. Yeah, there's a lot of people who did that. And it's really fucking sad because there was a multi-billion-dollar media push to shape the conversation, to convince people that, one, there are way more dangerous people here than there are that are also undocumented. And two, this administration is solely interested in going out and reducing that number of people. Obviously, to anyone who pays attention to the world outside of their immediate point of view, that is bullshit. Obviously, Trump is a racist, and anyone who's trying to pretend that he's not is just completely out of step with reality. But there's a lot of people who aren't paying attention, and there's a lot of people who don't look into this shit, and there's a lot of people who don't even have the time or space or energy or civics education to navigate this. And so they just go off of what they've heard. They have heard Donald Trump is a rich businessman. I am having trouble purchasing things right now. He's telling me that he will make prices go down and make the job market better and make the country safer. And also is only going to go after the bad people, of which I am not. And so there's a lot of people who were just like, that's good enough for me, and they voted for him. Because what the fuck else were they going to do? Vote for Kamala Harris? Half of them didn't know she was fucking running. So many people didn't know that Harris was even running. It's crazy. God, Joe Biden, what a fucking disaster. What an actual disaster. Take care, Fanakari. Have fun with the cleaning. Lady Rain says, a friend of the family has H-1B. Him and his fam have gone back to India this weekend to fill out paperwork to continue their visas. We're watching their dog for them. We're prepared to keep their dog in case their visas get detained at the border. Yeah, there are people who are, I've seen like creators, like international creators saying like, I'm just not going to go to any event in the US. It's too dangerous. Like it's not safe. How could they not know? I know that it feels impossible to not know. I know that it feels completely ridiculous that somebody would not know that Trump is a racist and that he was just going to go after everyone he could that's not a white Christian male, right? We know this. A lot of people don't. There are so many people, especially in the United States, that don't pay attention. When they say I don't do politics, they are endorsing the status quo because they are not, they truly don't pay attention. They don't know what's going on. And in some cases, it's because they truly have no time to look into anything. In some cases, it's because they have been indoctrinated and lied to by literally everyone around them. Like, you imagine growing up in a very rural area with very little access to the outside world, maybe a very poor internet connection. Your entire community is your local church, and the functional leader of your community is your local church pastor, and everyone in your family and the local authority figure have taught you your entire life to always respect authority, always listen to what authority has to say, and anyone who is not adherent to these rules is a bad person in their heart and is going to hell, and you don't want to be like them. And there's a lot of people in this country who had some version of that and hold on to it in some way. And that's what's driving them through their life and their decision-making process. And that is the heartbreaking part. Like, that is not their fault. They shouldn't do that. They contributed to some garbage, for sure. But can you blame them? I don't think that I can. I'm upset that that happened, but I don't think that we should be upset that a thing that was going to happen, obviously, happened. And moreover, like, it's more that leftists slash Democrats and centrists and whatnot didn't vote. That reminder, like, like, yeah, more people voted for Trump this time around than last time, but so fewer voted against him. Huh. Lady Ruin says, I live in a rural state. I see those kinds of people all the time. Yeah, I was in a pretty rural area doing some camping, and there was a brewery that I went to, and they were having a trivia night, and I was like, oh, neat. So like hung out with some of the people there and was like doing trivia. The girl running the trivia was like very clearly from the area, and one of the categories was like food, and the answer was pico de gallo. And she was flabbergasted at this term. Absolutely, like when she was going through the answers, she struggled so fucking hard to say pico de gallo. She was like, pico de gallo? I don't know what this is. And it's like it was a stark reminder. Stark reminder that there are people who have a very different lived experience. Ugh. Beans and Ash says, goddamn Twitch, I just found out I have to wait 6 months for my old username. Oh boy. I can't get my username. I'm still mad about this. Fucking Twitch has a policy where if you had a username and then got banned, that username will never be available again. They recycle other usernames. So they recycle, like, if you had a username, then you don't log in for like, I think a certain amount of time, they will recycle the username. They will let somebody else take it. But if you got banned, it is out of the pool eternally. Someone before I got this account made an account with the name Endeavorance and got banned. And so multiple times I've tried to change my name to Endeavorance.
Wait, look who just subscribed.
And I can't. It's just not available. And so I've tried messaging, like I've emailed Twitch support, and I'm like, hey, look, I know this is your policy, but like I'm actively a growing content creator and streamer, and I'm trying to do more on this platform. Is there any, can I just talk to someone? Like, I know that there's a way that you can bend. There's no way that you can't bend this policy. Like, come on. Nothing. Absolutely fuck all. They just link me to the FAQ that says exactly what the policy is, and I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. So that is why my handle on Twitch is Endeavorance TV, and it makes me endlessly mad. Time to rebrand as What Crowbar Guy? Quality streaming website, twitch.tv. I would use a different website, but one, I've got a lot of vested interest here, and two, there's not really a better option. Like, Moonbeam is in beta. I'm looking forward to that. Moonbeam is a, like, an upstart streaming platform that is trying to do a lot more equitable revenue sharing for streamers, and it has like stronger, stricter moderation policies and values and shit. It looks cool. I am sus. I am very sus. We'll see. I am keeping my eye on it, and I want to use it if it's gonna go well. I've got my doubts. Same with what's the TikTok clone that people have been talking about for a while? I forget. There's some app, Neptune. Neptune is an app that's coming out that is like supposed to be a more creator-centric version of like TikTok and stuff. I have my doubts. I want it to go well. I want it to be good. I want it to work out. Dave Toms 1 says buy Twitch Endeavorance.com and have it load this page. That's why I have, so if you go to Endeavorance.tv, it goes here. That's why I link Endeavorance.tv in places. So that if I do change platforms, I can just redirect that to somewhere else. So whenever somebody goes to Endeavorance.tv, they find me. Okay, it says my plans have been thwarted and now I have to go into the world. Wish all the men who come near me luck. Have a great stream, Dev. Take care and best of luck not dealing with assholes. What was I saying? Neptune. I want to believe that Neptune's going to be good. Again, keeping my eye on it. I'll evaluate as it goes. But I just haven't gotten a sense of like, I haven't gotten a sense that they're really ready for what they're trying to deliver from their content, like from the stuff that they've been posting about it. And it's also way too little, way too late. Like they needed to launch that when the TikTok ban happened. If Neptune had landed the night of the TikTok ban, they could have gotten a bunch of people to move over and then hold on to those people. TikTok would come back and people are like, fuck it, no, we're staying here. But they didn't do that. And so they're like just now in beta and people are already like forgetting about it, which is kind of what I was worried about. I have a merch store, I have a Discord, I have podcasts, I have all those things that you should find them, you should go do stuff. I'm so bad at plugging my shit. Thank you. Kev says, no app has ever been successful by telling us they're going to be the next big thing. Every big social platform has been mostly unheard of until it blows up. That's kind of accurate. Tavern vibes. Yeah, I'm still mad. And like, it's not like I like Facebook now anymore, of course. But like when I was younger, I was on Facebook within the first like couple of years of it becoming a thing. Like while it was still invite only and while it was still college only, I got onto Facebook. And I remember at the time, MySpace was still really, really big. And I kept telling everybody, like, Facebook is going to be the next thing. Facebook's going to be the next thing. Like, move to Facebook. That's where everyone's going. It's going to be the next thing. And everyone kept telling me to shut up and that I had no idea what I was talking about. And I got so much pushback from all of my friends. None of them wanted to move over. And then, like, a month later, everyone was moving to Facebook. And then Facebook and I stopped using Facebook in, like, 2011. So... we don't mind helping out with that, Dev. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I am so fucking bad. I just don't like plugging stuff. It doesn't make me feel good. Crayley says, yay for monopolies. You know, we love monopolies here. I biodegrade says, gotta serve jury duty. Have a nice day, everyone. Yo, let me do it. Just put your phone, put me on the phone, like put your phone on the desk, the jury desk. And have it face out. And I'm going to be like, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this isn't what jury members do. They're supposed to shut up and watch. But I'm the attorney now. Look at me. I declare this case null and void. And I also decree that we adjourn. See, now you can come back to my stream. Easy, no problem. I made soup says, I just don't like plugging stuff. Me looking at my network switch. Lady Ruin says, Facebook is the only place that farmers know how to advertise hay, and I need hay for goats. Hate Facebook, love Facebook love Marketplace. That makes me sad, because like there are dedicated marketplace services that are not tied to Meta. Like Craigslist exists and is an independent thing. I'm not saying that you're wrong and like whatever, like reality is reality, and if that's where farmers are and you need supplies, then sure, whatever, I get it. But it makes me sad that is the reality, because like Facebook has done so much to make that the reality. Meta has done so much to make it so that people don't even think about an internet outside of Meta services, and it's fucking obnoxious. It's so bad. People still use Craigslist? Oh yeah. No one uses it anymore because Facebook Marketplace? I don't know. There's still a lot of people on Craigslist. And like buy nothing groups and whatnot. None of the rural people here use anything but Facebook. Ugh. Yeah, again, like a lot of it is because a lot of rural users had like shitty internet connections until relatively recently and didn't have the similar like wider exposure to the internet. And by the time that they did, it was all Meta, and Meta just kind of swooped in and was like, we have everything that you need. Never leave here. Kev says, I love Craigslist and wish I could use it, but so much stuff doesn't get posted there. Also, not sure if it's still true, but for a while, Craigslist was charging for car listings. Interesting. I didn't know that. OfferUp is a good alternative. Yeah, also look into like buy nothing groups in your area. There's a lot of those now. Like there's a lot of buy nothing groups that do, that just like post like, hey, I've got a fucking toaster if anybody needs it. My local buy nothing is only active on Facebook. It's annoying. We just need better and easier to access group apps. Like imagine if Apple just released their like invites app. Like Apple just recently launched an Apple Invites thing. And I'm curious to see if that gets picked up because a lot of people still use Facebook events and a lot of people just like don't know how else to send out invites and plan an event. But having a new button directly on a phone that a lot of people already have that just says like, hey, you already have an option to send invites. Interesting. If we had a similar thing, and I'm not saying that the solution is Apple makes everything, but if we had a similar thing and people just had a thing that was just like the buy nothing or your locality app that isn't fucking Nextdoor, like that'd be neat. We need things that are not just Facebook owning everything, but we need them to be so obviously better that there's no reason not to use them because you're fighting against the network effect. Like you're fighting against the thing that somebody redeemed a sip a long time ago. I'm sorry. Hold on. You're fighting against the effect that all of these companies realized early on, which is the network effect. You get people on your app, you make it hard for them to get off your app because everyone's already there. Why would they leave? They don't want to have to rebuild up their network. No one wants to do that. No one wants to lose that vested interest. And so these companies are essentially just too big to fail, like from a user base perspective, and they just roll out whatever the fuck, and people are like, well, I guess this is a thing now that exists. We need Nextdoor for the youths. For the youths. We need Nextdoor, but if you post if you make a post asking if that was gunshots or fireworks, you just get instant banned. Lady Ruin says, I need some goddamn wine or something so I can fall asleep. It eludes me. Would it help to have bagpipes? Because that's what I'm delivering to your ears right now. Boomers don't know or want to know how to use apps very well. I'm consistently thrown at how, like, people, especially boomers, just immediately lose it the second that they see something new. And apps are pretty much always new. So they'll be, like, presented with something as basic as a login screen and be like, what is this? And it's like, it's the thing that every single app and website has had for 40 years is what this is. It is a login screen. Yeah. It's bizarre. I don't get it. I really don't. Because I feel like I'm constantly learning new things and constantly needing to learn new things and constantly onboarding to like how things work. And at no point anywhere in my life have I ever heard a boomer say something like, once you've learned enough, you stop. It's always been like, oh, you got to learn to be handy. You got to learn to like self-serve and be self-sufficient, except for apparently using a cell phone and like navigating the internet and not getting scammed by doing so. Like, it's not a fundamentally difficult task. But what I usually see is they just like don't even bother trying. They just give up immediately and want somebody else to do it for them because they just like don't ever want to learn it. But it's way too late. Like that was maybe acceptable when the internet was still mostly dial-up, and it's like, I don't want to deal with this weird fucking modem that makes a bunch of noises and whatnot only to have a terrible internet connection and then have to figure out how to navigate. So, like, I get that. I get if it was too finicky. But now everyone has a supercomputer. It's time to learn it. Can't teach an old dog new tricks, but you can, though. You literally can teach old dogs new tricks. Jordy Pooper says, You mean I need to log in with my information to retrieve my information? Blasphemy. God, yeah, my mother-in-law has like 17 Facebook accounts because whenever it logged her out, she just made a new one instead of logging back in because she didn't know how. She would she's the kind of, this is a true story. I just remembered this. This is a true story. I used to work at a company that made a website builder. Like our product was a website builder. We were like Squarespace or whatever, but it wasn't Squarespace. And I'm minding my own damn business. And a person from customer support comes over. Mind you, this is tier 1? I never remember which direction tiers go in customer support, but whatever is the highest tier, the last level of customer support, that was who's like in the office with us that can like come talk to the developers and like work with us directly on a solution. One of these customer support agents comes over to my desk and goes like, "Hey, Dev, your mother-in-law is on the phone." I'm like, "What? What?" And it turns out she wanted a website and couldn't figure it out. And so she called support and started like railing them out, saying like, my son-in-law, it works at this company. You need to, no, please don't do this to me. And so like, I'm sitting here trying to explain to customer support why my mother-in-law is like berating them on the phone because she can't figure out how to make the website. And oh. It was a day. I had so many moments at that office that were just like, why is somebody from my life just appearing here? One day, a man who's the father of like one of my longest running like childhood best friends, he just appeared in my office one day. It's like somebody came over and they're like, "Hey, Dev, someone's here to see you." And I'm like, "What?" And I walk over and it's him. And he's like, "Hey, I work in like office furnishing now and am like supplying a new carpet for this office, but realize that this is where you work. And so hi." I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Like, why is everyone that I know just coming out of the woodwork into this specific random fucking office? FYI, I just heated up an egg bite from Trader Joe's. Egg bite. Hell yeah. So, yeah. I love egg bites. Very, very good. Egg bite. Egg bite. I still have that poster like right there. I missed the OG egg bite stream and I'm still mad. One of these days we'll do an egg bite part 2, and maybe I'll do like an egg bite taste test. I said I was gonna do an egg bite taste test, but here's the problem that I ran into. I have access to like 2 types of egg bites, so it wouldn't be a very interesting stream. I would just be eating like a bacon egg bite and a spinach and cheese egg bite. And like those are the only options I have. So it'd just be like, I already know which one I like too. So I don't know. Make egg bite. I can do a homemade egg bite stream. Oh, fuck yeah. Hey, do y'all want to learn how to play Proscenium? I'm gonna start talking about Proscenium now. And we're gonna talk about that. Stream information. Walking through the current draft of the Proscenium TTRPG rulebook. So let's start with background. What am I talking about? What is this? Proscenium. Proscenium is a tabletop role-playing game. Think like Dungeons and Dragons or Blades in the Dark or Daggerheart, stuff like that. Proscenium is a tabletop role-playing game that I am designing that is meant to be inclusive and extensible and just very approachable. It's supposed to be easy to learn, easy to run, and have great support for telling basically any story you want to tell. So it doesn't lock you into a specific setting. It has a default setting. It has a standard setting, but it doesn't lock you into a certain type of setting. It doesn't lock you into really anything. It's a generic system, and the setting brings all of the flavor. So anyone will be able to build their own setting, build their own items and abilities and everything, and package them up into a bundle called a playbill, and then you can give that playbill to somebody to import into the companion app, and they'll be able to have access to all of the information for your world. So if you're a world builder, if you're a dungeon master who likes to do a lot of custom content, you'll be able to give all those materials to your players. They'll have it in their app as if it was just a part of the game, which is pretty freaking nice. Neurospicy says, are you considering having it accessible for blind/low vision community as well? Yeah, by default. Yeah, for sure. The like accessibility is table stakes, and I'm not going to publish an app that's not usable by low vision folks. Like, it's going to be screen reader accessible. The core rulebook itself is also going to be available as a web page, which you'll be able to use with a screen reader. So if there is a PDF version, that'll be mostly for just like show and print, but the core rulebook, and I'll show you this momentarily, the core rulebook will be available as a web page. If I go to here, like here's a demo of like the work in progress, sort of like static version of the playbook. So as you can see, it's just like a simple website, and you can just say like, here's the rulebook, and you can just read the rules. So all of this is just basic HTML, which means that it works by default with screen readers. So if you need a blind tester, I know someone. Perfect. Yeah, accessibility is table stakes. So that's Proscenium. I am working on this, and it is a passion project of mine, and I'm really happy with how things are coming along. But what I want to show you today is the current state of the rulebook, because I've made a whole bunch of changes, and I've talked about a little bit about how to play before, but today I want to walk through the current state of the rulebook and sort of give a gist of like the parts of this game and what playing it will look like. So let me switch my Obsidian feed to here. Nope. Here. It's human. Okay. Cool. So let me bump this up. Let's bump up the volume. Whoop. And cool. So this is the Proscenium like core rulebook and the default setting Obsidian Vault. So I'm developing the rulebook and the core setting in this vault currently. Eventually, when I make the app to play the game, the app will also be the editor. So you'll be able to do your world building and like item creation and ability designing and everything in the app to handle all of that. But for now, I'm doing it in this Obsidian Vault just to have something. So I've got two primary groups here. One is Great Spires, and this has all of the setting information, and the other is PCR, which stands for Proscenium Core Rulebook, and this is the actual rulebook. So we'll just be looking at the rulebook today, and we've got 7 chapters, and we'll just kind of go through it real quick. There's not a lot. There's not a lot to learn, and that's by design. I don't expect that by the end of this stream you'll know everything there is to know about how to play this, but you'll have a much better sense of what it looks like and where I'm putting my focus right now. So, sitting down to play. At your table, you've got 2 categories of participants in the game. You've got your players, who are controlling characters, and the director, who facilitates the game session and controls non-player characters. So in other systems, the director would be called the game master, the dungeon master, the guide, a bunch of different terms for it, but in this, it's the director. So the director weaves player actions into a cohesive story. The director's job is to run the table and ensure that everyone is having fun and feeling safe to explore and express themselves. As the director, there's a helicopter going right over me. Just a loud fucking helicopter. Just going right over me. Okay. The director weaves player actions into a cohesive story. As the director, you play the role of every non-player character in the world and are responsible for their decisions, roles, and actions. So you pretty similar to any other dungeon master. You are the one that acts as every NPC. You sort of bind the world together, you make it come alive, but the players are the ones that have the agency to actually move the story forward. So the players drive the story forward. They are the central focus of the game as they control their characters, explore the world, and grow as a party. As a player, you have agency to move and act within the fiction of the story. You are an equal participant in the storytelling and are in charge of bringing your character to life with the help of other players and your director. The players say what they want their character to do, and the director will determine how those actions will be resolved. Players can do just about anything you can think of, so long as it makes sense in the context of the current scene. So, again, pretty basic. You just say what you want to do. You work with the director to figure out how that's resolved. If rolling needs to occur, you roll, and we'll get to how rolling works in a bit. I actually just yesterday did a full rework to the rolling system, and I'm much happier with it now. So we'll get there. Let's start with characters. Characters are in-fiction entities controlled by players. They differ from NPCs in that they have independent autonomy from the director, as well as having a bit more of a buffer between themselves and certain doom. Just a light bit of plot armor, if you will. So, if you are a character, you have a little bit of plot armor. It's a little harder to kill a player character than an NPC, but not impossible. Take care, Foggy. Enjoy packing. Species. The species of your character determines not only their physical appearance, but it also determines their starting abilities, stats, and talent prowess. We'll get to all that momentarily. And species are one of the things that are defined by the setting. So the default rulebook does not prescribe what species are available to play. The setting brings that information. So again, like anything that has to do with gameplay and decisions that you can make and building out your character and items and lore and everything, that's all from the setting, and that's separate from the rule book. That's an intentional divide that I'm doing here. And it makes for a challenge to actually write all this out, but it ultimately opens up so much possibility for extensibility and customization. Character talents. So there are 6 talents. Talents are like skills from D&D. These are the things that you roll. So talents are the things that you roll for. A talent is a representation of your character's prowess. Talents are used when making rolls to see how your character fares in a situation. For each talent, your character may be novice, adept, or master. There are 6 talents for each character. So depending on if you are a novice, adept, or master at a given talent, you roll 1, 2, or 3 d20s. That's it. There's muscle for physically intensive tasks, and also for melee weapon attacks. Focus is for reading subtleties, picking up hints, tracking your prey, or making determinations. It's also used for ranged attacks. Knowledge is for deciphering language, recalling history, or generally having book smarts. Charm is for swaying hearts, performing for an audience, or generally being likable. Cunning is deception, quick thinking, deft actions, and survival instinct. And Spark is prowess in supernatural powers or otherworldly powers. In the default setting, Spark is used for spells, arcane abilities, and general connection to magic. Finakri says, did I just walk into Proscenium? Yes, I'm going through the current state of the rulebook for Proscenium. So Spark is your magic stat. But what Spark does is, again, since the scenario can be anything, since the setting can bring whatever, Spark is the dedicated talent for dedicated customized talent for scenarios. So in the default scenario, Spark is essentially magic. But in a Gundam scenario, Spark could be how well you control your robot. In a cyberpunk scenario, Spark could be associated with cybernetic enhancements. in a Star Wars scenario, spark could be the Force. So spark is whatever is the like special supernatural thing in the given setting. Stats. Stats are the properties of your character which define the extent of their ability to adventure. So stats are just your stats. They're very, very straightforward. Health points, how much damage you can sustain before you are dropped. Ability points, how many abilities you can use before you need to rest. Exhaustion points, how far you can push yourself during adventure. Exhaustion points are basically like an additional resource used to do like big stuff. And experience points, which can be spent to enhance your character's abilities. And we'll get to that in a bit. Let's talk about rolling dice though, which is like why we're here. We're all here to roll dice and have good times. Rolls determine the outcomes of complex character actions in a scene. Perhaps you're attempting to jump across a large chasm or trying to haggle on the price of a rare weapon. In Proscenium, you roll 1, 2, or 3 20-sided dice to determine how your actions play out. So you only ever roll d20s and you just roll 1, 2, or 3 of them to see what happens. Step 1, determine the talent. Depending on what your character is trying to do, work with the director to figure out which talent makes sense. So again, muscle, focus, knowledge, charm, cunning, spark. Are you doing strength stuff? Are you scoping something out? Are you trying to like discern what runes in a book mean? That's how you determine what talent is going to be chosen. So that determines which talent, which means how many dice you're going to roll based on your skill in that talent. So you pick up your dice, you look at the prowess that you've got from that talent, and you pick up 1, 2, or 3 dice. And then the director will tell you the challenge. So for whatever you're trying to accomplish, there's going to be a challenge associated with it. In something like D&D, this would be called the DC, and you would get a number. They'd say like, this is a DC 20 or a DC 17, whatever check. In Proscenium, there are 4 levels of challenge. And those are the same as the prowesses, and then an additional one that we'll get to in a second. Your prowess in a talent can be novice, adept, or master, and the challenge of an action can be novice, adept, or master. Novice being something super, super approachable. Adept being like, this is a bit harder, but like it could be that someone could do it. Master being, it's very unlikely that a random person would just be able to do this. So the challenge tells you what number you have to roll at least to pass. So 5, 11, and 16 for novice, adept, and master. There's a 4th one though, theatrical. And this is fun. So for moments that are like, I want to try something ridiculous. I want to do something that is reckless and borderline impossible. I acknowledge that this is stupid, but I want to try it anyway. That is a theatrical roll. So that is, I accept that I need to crit. And if I don't crit, I lose. And if that's fine. So in those moments of super high risk and super high reward, it can be a theatrical roll. In which case you have to roll a 20. Otherwise you fail. So it's just a pass-fail system, right? Originally, Originally, the rolling system had a range of outputs or a range of outcomes. So it could be a complete failure, a partial failure, a success, or like a great success. I've changed it to just be pass-fail, but I didn't want to lose the like mixed success concept. I really like that concept. I really like the concept of you succeed, but it's messy. And so the way that is replaced is if your prowess does not exceed the challenge of the roll that you're making, then no matter what, you are going to suffer a consequence. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't try. It just means that you have to accept that this is above your station and is not going to go perfectly even if you were successful. So that's just basically saying, unless you are actually good at this and you can fail gracefully, you're going to deal with the outcomes. So you could be, for example, you're locked in a jail and you're trying to get out and you have no other options, but you are not a lock-picking boy. But you try it anyway. That would be a cunning roll. Let's say you're a novice in cunning and the director says, well, that's going to be an adept cunning roll. You will suffer a consequence even if you successfully pick the lock. So you successfully pick the lock, but you don't know what you're doing. It's loud, it clanks to the ground, and now the guards are coming. You did it, you picked the lock, but you've alerted the guards. And that is the like, okay, creating situations to advance the storytelling by putting people in scenarios that they have to make a compromise. So that is how the sort of like mixed success thing works. If you meet or exceed the challenge level of the roll and you fail the roll, you just normally fail. You fail like with a standard that didn't work. But if it exceeds your station and you fail, then things get more complicated. So then you make the roll. If you beat it, you beat it. If you don't, you don't. And then this is just saying what I said otherwise. That said, some abilities and items may also specify unique effects that occur on a success or a mishap. Mishap is what I call failure. I didn't want to say it's a failed roll. It's a mishap. So some abilities or items might specify unique effects that happen on success or mishap. Fate rolls. Fate roll occurs when a scenario does not call for any talent or is completely outside the control of any player. Fate rolls are a single d20 and must roll at least an 11 to succeed unless otherwise specified by an item, ability, or game rule. So fate rolls are for when there's nothing else. There's nothing but fate at play here. It is out of your hands. You just need to see what fate has to say. That's a fate roll. Let's talk about items, because I recently changed these, and I really like the change that I made here as well. I'm really happy with how this all progressed. Items in Proscenium are any pieces of gear that you can wield, wear, or use. They are found lying around in your adventure, hidden away as treasure, or on the shelf at a shop, or packed away in the caravan of a traveling merchant. Items are key to extending the power and playstyle of your character. Equipping the right weapons, wearing the right gear, and leveraging the right trinkets can make anyone far more powerful. In your inventory, your inventory is the list of items in your possession. Each character can hold up to 10 items in their inventory. Wielding or wearing items does not remove them from your inventory. It's important to be thoughtful about which items to pack with you on your adventure. So you have a fairly limited inventory space. And we're not fucking around with like weight amounts, and each item has a weight that you have to tally up, and then there's like a strength thing that determines how much you can. You just have 10 items. And you cannot go above that. But you can have storage containers. So if you have more items that you want to hold on to, which you almost definitely will, you can just find a place to safely store them. And that'll be a part of the fiction, like the director worked with you on that. But you can store an unlimited number of items in a storage container somewhere. These aren't your magic, Minecraft nether boxes or whatever that like nobody else can access but you. These are physical items that exist in the persistent game world. So you best either trust who's watching it or have it hidden somewhere good. So yeah, containers are a way to have more items, and if you've got like a base of operations, you can always go through your items, determine what you want to bring with you on this adventure, and do that. Fanakri says, I like that. Blades in the Dark has a system similar to that too. That was one of the main inspirations here. So in Blades in the Dark, you just say, I'm going to pack light, medium, or heavy, and that determines how many items you have, and it's like just 3 to 7. But yeah, this is just like you've got 10 slots. That includes what you're wielding and wearing. So choose wisely. Item types. Items in Proscenium fall into 3 categories: wielded, worn, and trinket. Wielded items are weapons, wands, staves, shields, tools, or anything that is often held and leveraged for damage or effect. Wielded items will list themselves as 1 or 2-handed. Each character can wield 2 one-handed items or 1 two-handed item, unless otherwise specified by their species. So a species, when it's specified, a playable species, can have more than 2 hands. And you can just wield more stuff, if that's the case. Worn items. Worn items include armor, clothing, robes, rings, and anything that you would wear to leverage its effects. Each character has 5 standard slots for equipping worn weapons. So you've got your headgear, your outfit, your gloves, your boots, and your adornment. So headgear, helmet, hat, stuff like that. Outfit is your full armor, your full set of armor. So there's not separate chest piece and leg piece and whatnot. It's just your outfit. Armor, it could be clothing, it could just be you're just wearing like a magic t-shirt. I don't care. It's your outfit. Gloves, got to protect those hands. So gloves are, gauntlets or mittens or anything like that. boots, so anything that you would wear on your feet for walking, and adornment, which is just some kind of jewelry. So it's just like, the ring that you want to have that you're wearing, or the amulet, or whatever. You can only have one adornment that gives you an effect at a time. But there are also unique items. So some items will specify a unique slot, and you can have as many of those as you want, as long as they don't overlap with each other. So if like there could be an item that says like, this is a pauldron. There aren't other pauldrons, but this one's a pauldron. You can wear that. That's okay. It is up to the scenario designer to be thoughtful about using unique slots. Like, that's a really powerful boon for an item to have its own unique slot and be wearable alongside everything else. Nadasha says, but Dev, I don't have a hand, but like, or what if you don't have a hand, but like an arm type appendage? Would you be able to duct tape a weapon to it and just kind of make it work? I mean, if you talk to your director about it, why not? All of this, by the way, like this is all a baseline and is meant to be tweaked and morphed as needed to tell the best possible stories. Item affinity. Items may declare their affinity, specifying which of your talents will be used with the item. Each type of item may specify an affinity for different purposes. So items may have an affinity. An affinity, it just says like this item is associated with this talent type. If it's a wielded item, the affinity determines what talent you roll when making attacks with that weapon. So if it's a great sword, it might have a muscle affinity. But if it's like a sly dagger, it might have a cunning affinity. So if you're like a rogue, you don't have to like, have super good muscle to be able to deal damage. Like you've got your dagger, you're rolling with cunning, and you're using cunning for all your other stuff, so you can find gear that works with what you're good at. Same with like knowledge and having a staff that casts magic or something. You might be making knowledge rolls because you're like tapping into ancient arcane wisdom or something. Worn items. If a worn item specifies an affinity, that determines your defense challenge. This is a term that refers, we haven't gotten to combat yet, but a defense challenge is what the challenge level is of an attack against you. So we talked earlier when rolling, there's a challenge level. So like, you have to roll at least this well to pass. Whatever item that specifies an affinity that you're wearing, that determines what that challenge is for you. So if it is, again, like a big suit of armor, probably has muscle affinity, which means that you use your muscle prowess to determine how hard it is to hit you. Whereas a robe might, a robe with like protective runes on it or something would have knowledge affinity, stuff like that. A trinket, if it has an affinity, it just is what you're rolling to use the ability that trinket has, if that trinket has an ability. So if it's like a scroll, if it's a throwing star, stuff like that. I guess throwing star would be wielded, not trinket. But you know what I mean. Sort of like a plus or a boon. Yeah, basically. It's by default, if you're just a very fleshy boy, your defense challenge is novice. If somebody were to come up with and like try to hit you with a sword, they're probably going to hit you with a sword. But wearing items that give you a better defense challenge improves your defense. It's kind of like AC, sort of. Item rarity. Items have rarity denoting how prized the item itself is. I actually posted a screenshot of this on social media recently because one of these is pretty fun. So items have rarity. There's 4 levels of rarity. They are exactly what you think they would be: common, uncommon, rare, legendary. Common being something you would find anywhere, a simple knife, a bit of rope, a basic weapon. Uncommon being a halfway decent quality item worth keeping around, a well-crafted sword, finely woven rope, or a magic wand. A rare item, worth seeking out to further your power, the enchanted spear of a fallen hero, a crystal capable of replaying memories, a glove that enhances your ability to pet dogs. Wonderful item. And then legendary is a unique and powerful artifact, often one of a kind, a masterwork from a legendary blacksmith, armor forged in dragonfire, a pocket watch which can stop time. So legendary items are like the big artifacts in the world, basically. Item value and money. Proscenium does not use currency. It does not have a currency system. Instead, it uses exchanging and bartering. Rarity determines the relative value of a given item. Each rarity is worth 10 times as much as the previous. So common is worth a common, uncommon is worth 10 commons, rare is worth 10 uncommons, and legendary is worth 10 rares. So when you're going to barter and trade, it's literally just, hey, I'll give you a bunch of like stuff for that. Or like, I have this uncommon item, but it's useless to me. I'll trade this to you for one that is useful to me. There are tokens as well. This is an optional rule, but if you want a sort of currency style system, you can use tokens, which are a trinket that have no effect other than holding the value of a given rarity. So that's a really easy way to do like sort of a hand wave reward. Like you found a token in this chest somewhere. Now you have the functional equivalent of a rare item whenever you want to go trade that in. That's an optional one. Tweaks and tempers. Items in Proscenium can be modified by both the players and director using tweaks and tempers. A tweak is a neutral or aiding effect added to an item. The effect can be anything, such as causing your weapon to be completely silent when you use it, or tweaking some fireworks to make the explosion twice as big. Tweaks cannot change an item's damage rating or affinity. A temper is a secondary neutral or detracting effect added to an item. Tempers are used to counterbalance tweaks following the same set of rules. Perhaps your sword was tweaked to be far lighter than usual. A fitting temper would be that it may shatter if you roll poorly when attacking. So tweaks and tempers are ways to modify items that can't modify the item's power, but can modify the item's effects. You can make it more good at one thing at the expense of being good at everything. Also, when you are making tweaks and tempers, the recommendation from the rulebook is when creating tweaks and tempers for an existing item, the player who owns the item should choose either the tweak or temper, while the director chooses the other. Both should agree on what is fair, with the goal of adding a helpful twist on the item at the cost of universal utility. So it's not that the director is always choosing the temper and the player is always choosing the tweak. The player could choose the temper if they want, in which case the director can give them the tweak. And so it lets you choose, like, okay, I am okay with this side effect. What do you got for me? As opposed to always saying, like, I want this. How are you gonna rein me in? All about the give and take, and all about collaborating and just like making something more interesting rather than just flatly more powerful. Lady Ruin says, question, how are laborers paid? Just curious, are they paid in food or other items? It depends very heavily on the local societal structure. So there are some places that will pay in just like, in fiction, they can be paid in some kind of currency that's local to them that does that does exist. In other places, they're more like a collective. There isn't really a notion of currency. It's much more trading and bartering. It's really just up to the locality within the world, and within the default setting, there are several different economic systems at play. So yeah. Banakri says, since it's barter, I would give NPCs a favorite common or uncommon item type that could allow trading for an item of higher rarity. Absolutely. Tavern vibes right now. Ambient vibes. Absolutely. Yeah. Having merchants that are like, if you can find me this, then I'll give you like something great. It doesn't have to be rare, but I just need this. So that's items. Stage play. Stage play is the proscenium approach to doing turn-based stuff. So this is for combat and complex situations. Upon entering combat or similarly complex multi-group scene, gameplay becomes turn-based as we enter stage play. While in stage play, each involved party takes a turn as a group. The currently active group is in action, while all other parties are on queue. While a character is on queue, their queue abilities are active and can be triggered, at which time the character has agency to act even if they are not currently in action. We haven't gotten to abilities yet. I might want to reorder abilities in stage play, but there are 3 types of abilities: actions, cues, and traits. Traits are passives, actions are active things that you can do, and cues are triggered actions. Cues are abilities that you have that when a condition is met, you can do something. So when it is not your turn during stage play, you can use your cues. When it is your turn, you can use your actions. So you're either in action or on cue. The director determines the order of turns for all parties based on the scenario at the beginning of stage play. For example, if the players are ambushed, the aggressors will have the first move. When your group is in action, your party may perform their actions in any order. You do not need to use all of your actions before the end of your turn. So it is a group turn, and you don't need to do everything per character. So you can have one person do one of their actions, somebody else do something, and then the first person do something again. Because when your group is in action, you may invoke up to 2 action abilities. In addition to the abilities that you've learned, every character has the following basic actions. You can move, make a basic attack, interact, or ready a wielded item. You have to already be holding a wielded item to use it. Otherwise, you need to use an action to equip it if you're in stage play. On cue. When your group is on cue, your cue abilities are active and may be triggered by anything in the ongoing scene. You may only invoke one cue ability while on cue until your next turn in action. So examples of a cue ability would be if you have a character that's like a protective wizard, like an abjuration kind of thing, you might have a cue, like an ability that's a cue that says when one of your teammates are targeted with a attack based on fire, you can like temporarily make them fireproof so that like they don't get burned. So like that can be a cue. Or one of the existing cues for the archery skill tree is that you're really good at trajectory analysis. So if you are targeted with a projectile attack, you can reduce the damage by, basically seeing how it's going to hit and taking action on that. So you can reduce the damage based on that because like how projectiles work. So those are cues. They are when something happens, when a condition is met, you get to do something. And because of that, in stage play, even when it's not your turn, if one of your cues is triggered, you still have autonomy. You basically get to take an extra turn out of order to do your cue. So I wanted to have a situation where nobody ever felt like they were just sitting around waiting for them to be able to have some autonomy again, because combat, especially in D&D, is so slow and so clunky and so overburdened with just too many things going on and too much order. Like, we're just trying to do things here. So, yeah. Stage play is not meant to last for a very, very long time. It can, and I love a good, like, long, drawn-out boss battle, but I don't love battles of atrophy, which a lot of tabletop RPGs fall into pretty quickly. They, chipping away at health forever, just casting the same spell over and over. You're out of spell slots. No side is really falling anytime soon, and so we're just spending an extra hour at this table waiting for the numbers to reach a point that we can stop being in combat. That is explicitly what I'm trying to avoid with stage play in Proscenium. It's much quicker. You have more autonomy at more times, and also the numbers in Proscenium are specifically designed to just not take forever. So like if you're fighting somebody, more often than not, that fight's going to be over fairly quickly, like within a few turns, not going around and around and around and around and around just to do one simple combat. Think about traveling in a TTRPG, like overworld traveling, and you're doing the thing where it's like every hour of travel you're rolling to see if there's a random event where you get ambushed or whatever. You can have a lot of fun with those if they don't feel like a chore. I don't want them to feel like a chore. I want them to feel like a part of the adventure. And so you should be able to pop in and out of stage play relatively quick without it just taking over the entire session. Distances. Distance is categorized into the following groups based on the relative space between entities. Melee range is about 5 feet or 1.5 meters. It is close enough to bash them with a rock. Nearby, that's 25 feet, 7.5 meters, close enough to throw a rock at them. In range is 100 feet or 30 meters, which is close enough to throw a rock if you've got good aim. And distant is more than 100 feet or more than 30 meters away, which is too far to hit them with a rock, which is a damn shame. So distance is all just like relative, and any ability that needs to have a notion of distance in it is going to use one of these 4 terms. So if it's an AoE targeted spell, it might say everyone within melee range of the target is hit, everybody nearby the target is hit, everybody in range of the target is hit. And then same for how far you can cast something. You can cast it at melee range, you can cast it on somebody nearby, or you can cast it at somebody in range. So these are just taking again all of the numbers, all of the minutia, the fact that you need to like get out a fucking measuring tape and figure out what if I go 3 blocks this way and 1 block this way to try to optimize for getting these people in this circle. Like fuck it. Are they nearby? Yeah, they're hit. Okay, moving on. Can you tell that this game is being designed by a dungeon master who's tired of just finicking with everything? Damage. Abilities and items which deal damage to an entity may deal physical or arcane damage and will list their damage rating, which represents the amount of damage that you will deal upon a successful attack. Physical damage is dealt by when the ability or item affects the material, corporal. I'm starting over. Physical damage is dealt when the ability or item affects the material, corporal form of the target. I need to reword that. Jesus. Physical damage is the most common form of damage, as well as the easier form of damage to mitigate. Arcane damage is dealt when the ability or item affects the spiritual, magical, or psychic well-being of a target. Arcane damage is harder to mitigate, but is not always as effective as physical damage. So there's not a difference between different types of physical damage. In Proscenium, spells that deal like fire damage or ice damage or lightning damage, that's all just physical. Now there may be effects that are triggered or caused based on elements, but it's all still just physical damage. I think it's supposed to be corporeal. Yeah, that's just a fucking typo. Arcane damage is more of an abstract, like targeting your tether to this world type of damage. It's not just magic damage. So it's not like spells do arcane damage by default. If it's a fireball, you're singeing them. That's a physical damage to their body. They're not dying because you did magic at them. They're dying because they got set on fire. So that is sort of the split. There's physical damage, which like 90% of damage is physical damage. Arcane damage is mostly just there to throw a wrench in people's plans with regards to how they want to build their character. You can't just make yourself a fortress that can't take damage. Damage is tracked by counting up from 0. If your damage level reaches your health point maximum, you will become dropped. So instead of having 10 HP and you count down to 0, there's going to be counting up to your HP max. In the app, this will look like tick marks basically. Like you'll just like check off for each point of damage, and when you've checked off your last point of damage, you're dropped. And so I find that this is a bit of an easier way to visualize how much damage you've sustained rather than how much health you are missing. It's how beat up are you, not how close to dead are you, if that makes any kind of sense. Dropped. If you sustain enough damage, you become dropped. Or if you sustain enough damage that it meets or surpasses your health points, you will become dropped. When dropped, you are at death's door. You will remain dropped until the end of the scene, or the next moment in fiction where your character can awaken. If you receive any form of healing while dropped, you pop back up. The moment that you are dropped, you gain an additional piece of baggage. We'll get to baggage momentarily. The specifics of the baggage may be determined immediately or shortly after the scene ends. Each time that you are dropped or take damage while dropped, make a fate roll. If the result is less than the amount of baggage your character has, you perish. Defense challenge. We talked about defense challenge earlier. This is just how hard it is to hit you. Baggage. Baggage refers to a list of permanent traumas, ailments, and conditions and complications which your character may accrue during gameplay. Whenever your character is dropped or otherwise severely impacted by mental or physical trauma, they gain an additional piece of baggage. The details of the baggage and the impact it has on your character can be determined immediately between you and the director, or it can be determined at a later time when there's room to explore it. The baggage received upon being dropped should ideally be tailored to the details of how it happened. Baggage may have direct mechanical effects such as hindering role outcomes, or it may be a permanent personality or physical traits that come into play in fiction. Examples of baggage. You were blown up by a giant fireball. Your face is now, a baggage fitting that would be that your face is now visibly scorched. An evil wizard had control of your mind, sending you into battle as his thrall. But you got broken out of that, but now maybe you hold some baggage. You now have difficulty trusting your own perceptions. You can never be certain if what you're seeing is real. Someone that you considered an ally has double-crossed you. You now have trust issues, and your charm rolls drop. This is actually, I need to reword this. This is no longer how rolls work. You were sliced up real bad. You lost a limb. You swashbuckled a bit too hard and lost a pirate sword fight. Your character now wears an eye patch, and your depth perception is inhibited. So, yeah, baggage is just like stuff that gets globbed onto you over time and just weighs you down or has a permanent effect. This is inspired pretty directly from Blades in the Dark, which had trauma, where if you had enough stress, you would eventually pick up trauma, and if you had 4 traumas, then you die. Your character basically goes insane. But in Proscenium, as you bring your baggage along with you, as you go throughout your life and experience your adventures and basically have the scars to tell the tale of what happened, that also accrues over time and is directly impacting how likely it is that you pass on when you actually are dropped. So if you're walking around with 20 pieces of baggage and you drop, you're gone. You're just gone. But that's how like death rolls happen, basically. So if you get dropped and you've like barely started, you're probably not going to suddenly lose your character. There will be the option to insta kill. That's going to be at the discretion of the director and the player's agreement that is merited. But that is for scenarios where it's like something in fiction that cannot otherwise be explained how you would get out of it alive happened, and both the director and player agree that this should be the end of this character. That's acceptable. Will there be therapy? I don't see why not. I don't see why there wouldn't be the ability in some way in fiction to remove pieces of baggage, especially for long-running campaigns. That could very easily be an ability, or it could very easily be an NPC, or if you have, I could see it being a part of the setting itself. I think Blades has a really cool concept of indulging in your vices to reduce stress. So in Blades in the Dark, if you gain trauma, you can't get rid of trauma, but you can get rid of stress, which is how you get trauma. You can reduce your stress so that you don't get more trauma. But you reduce it by engaging in a vice. So your character has an in-fiction vice that helps them relax. So I don't see why that couldn't be a thing, especially in a given setting. Maybe your character is a cleric of some kind, and they can reduce their baggage by like going and like praying for a long time, like going to a temple, finding a temple where they can be safe and like pray to their god for a while or something. But yeah, there's absolutely no reason that baggage can't be removed. But it is also just essentially another stat. Okay, methods and abilities. Methods are collections of abilities which you may use to unlock and enhance and customize. Methods are collections of abilities which you may unlock to enhance and customize your character. Any character may unlock abilities from any method, provided that you have the available experience points and meet all prerequisites. You may choose to unlock abilities from methods whenever you find respite, which we'll get to, that's the next chapter. The ability becomes immediately available after your respite concludes. Method ranks. Methods contain groups of abilities called ranks. Abilities may only be unlocked if they are in the first rank or if you have unlocked at least one ability from the prior rank. For example, if a method has an ability in rank 4 which you want to unlock, you must first unlock an ability in rank 1, 2, and 3 from that method. You do not need to unlock each ability in each rank before moving on to the next rank, but there are no limitations on how many abilities from a rank you may unlock. So a method is a list of lists of abilities. It says rank 1 on this method are like these 4 abilities. Rank 2 are these 3 abilities. Rank 3 is like these 4, and then there's this like rank 4 has this big boy ability at the end. And so instead of being a complicated skill tree that has like arrows and dependencies pointing everywhere, it's just top down, and you just have to unlock at least one ability from each rank. So if you want to get the big stuff towards the bottom, you still need to invest in that method, but you aren't required to get a prescribed set of abilities just to unlock a certain one. Just anything from the method, basically. And so this allows for a classless customization system. There are no classes in Proscenium. There's just a bunch of methods that all have a bunch of abilities, and you pick and choose which methods you want to use to create the character that you're looking to create. So instead of having to figure out how can I multi-class so that I can be a battle mage, you can say, well, I'll take like the martial arts and swordplay methods and start learning stuff from there, as well as like some kind of spellcasting method, and pick some from there. So you can really pick and choose, you can really dial it in and customize. Abilities. Abilities are skills which enhance your character and are unlocked by using experience points. There are 3 types of abilities. We've kind of gone over this already. Actions, you can use them. Cues, they get triggered by things that happen, and then you can use them. And traits are just like passive abilities, like some kind of just passive boon. The final section, rest and respite. You may choose to rest on your journey in a safe location. Resting takes 1 hour and costs each character 1 exhaustion point. If you do not have any available exhaustion points, your character does not benefit from a rest. Upon completing a rest, remove up to 5 points of accrued damage and regain all of your ability points. Some abilities may provide additional effects that occur on rest. And respite, when you find a secure location to rest for at least a full day, you have found respite. This must be a scenario in which your character does not need to be on for a full day. At the end of respite, you remove all accrued damage, restore all ability points and exhaustion points. That is also when you're able to like level up, learn new skills, all that stuff, do all your trading and whatnot. That is the rule book as it stands right now. That is pretty much everything right now. It is the like minimum viable amount to build out the setting to allow me to start doing playtests soon, but it is certainly missing a lot. These are just sort of a collection of rules. Like, it's not a guidebook. It doesn't really teach you how to play. So the next step is going to be, besides just making the setting, I'm going to be making guides for like how to play, like how to be a player, as well as how to run. So there's going to be a Proscenium guide for players and a Proscenium guide for directors. And the guide for players will also include the like walkthrough on how to make a character. So hopefully I will have more to share in the future. I just shared a lot, but hopefully I'll have more to share in the future. Because yeah. Crazy Sanity says, good, because I have no clue how to play TTRPGs. Yeah, I feel you. This is specifically designed to be easy to learn, especially if you haven't played an RPG before. I will make a like Proscenium for D&D veterans document, probably. There's like an abridged version of the onboarding guide that's just like, here are the concepts you probably expect, and here's how they work in Proscenium. But the default guide is going to be written as if you've never tried playing a TTRPG before. So we'll include stuff like how to just be at the table, how to say what you want your character to do, all that kind of stuff. You got me hyped. I look forward to seeing more. Well, thank you. I am also hype and look forward to seeing more, but I also look forward to writing more. Mello, hello. Says Proscenium. Yep. I'm very, very excited. I'm so excited. I'm really hoping that in the next like few weeks, I have no real timeline, but I'm really hoping that in the next few weeks or so, I'll be able to post more material publicly for people to start like reading more about the world, about the rules that we just went through, as like an early first look draft to like start getting a sense of like what this is, and start thinking about for those who are interested in like running a campaign or something, to start thinking about what kind of stuff they would make. And also because I need to get feedback on this. A lot of this is just me like shooting ideas to people and being like, does this make sense? Does this sound right? So obviously need to do a lot of playtesting still. Kev says, with the character guide for D&D players, I'd love to see character builds based around the classes, i.e. if you want to play something similar to a fighter, you might take these options. Yes, absolutely. The way that we just went over the rule book, right? We just went over all the rules. The way that playbills are constructed. So again, playbills are the collections of like rules and setting information and everything for a given Proscenium game. The way that those are constructed is that they are a big collection of what are called playbill components, and every playbill component has the ability to have tags, like categories associated with them. So methods, which are collections of abilities, will be able to have tags. So you'll be able to search, like, I want to see every ability collection that has to do with swords. And you can just look at everything that has the sword tag, or the martial tag, or the melee tag. So you want to make like a brawler, just like search it, look at all the abilities that are tagged with melee, basically. In addition to that, yeah, I was going to have starter packs, like suggested collections of abilities, sort of like basically a prefabbed character. There are also a concept of blueprints. Hey, it's time for... I should take a sip. Thank you, Sylvie. Also, hi. There's also a concept of blueprints as a component in playbills, and blueprints are essentially stat blocks. They are a blueprint for a character. So they are all of the information for a character, usually meant to be used for like an NPC or an enemy type or whatever, so that the director can have easy access to like fill out an encounter and just like say, like, okay, I need like 5 goblins, like pull up the goblin blueprint and like create 5 goblins. But blueprints can also be for player characters. So you could make prefabbed blueprints. It's like, I don't know how to build a character, but I know I want to play a sword boy. Well, here's the sword boy blueprint, and I'm just going to take that and use it as is and maybe tweak it. But yeah, so you'll be able to make preset characters at least as like a starting point, and you'll also be able to search for exactly the kind of stuff that you're looking to pick up. All of this will be in the official app, which is going to be free. I don't know what this will look like for the paper version of the game, because the paper version of the game is going to be basically just like a PDF. So I'll look into how to make that easy to navigate, but we'll see. It'll probably still have like suggested starting points. So anyway, I just talked a lot. And I am a very hungry boy and have been streaming for 2.5 hours already. I can feel my voice giving in, so I think I'm going to call it here. Thank you all very, 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 very much for hanging out and listening to me blather forever about Proscenium. I am really, really thrilled at the steam that I'm picking up for building all of this. And I just like, I can't wait to get to a point where I can really start building it mostly in public, like mostly open source, so that folks can see what I'm doing. All of this is currently like technically on the internet somewhere, but I am not really advertising that anywhere because I don't I don't want people to get a preconception of what things are before I'm actually ready to say like, all right, here's the baseline. So hopefully soon I'll be able to put out said baseline. I said this is late for Dev. Look, I'm a hungry boy, all right? There's only so much I can do. Anyway, thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I am gonna go eat. I'll see you Tuesday. Don't die between now and then. Just got here. I'm very sorry. Well, the good news is the VOD will go up soon, so that's good. All right, don't die. Love you. See you Tuesday. Okay, bye-bye. Beef.